the fear is important. The fear gives kind of a chemical boost, even to in my brain anyway, to push me beyond my own comfort level, which is pretty close. I keep my comfort pretty close. So what I learned from that is fear is good, and I need fear to move forward. And from that moment on, Charles, everything about my career was about seeking something that scared the heck out of me. You act brave and confident and professional, and eventually you'll feel that way. In other words, feelings follow behavior. Is that the coolest thing?
Welcome to The Creator's Journey. I'm your host, Charles Gupton. Each week, I'll talk with creative leaders who face the same fears and obstacles we all face. What makes these folks effective are the processes they've developed that allow them to push through the darkness to consistently ship their work and make a difference. If you've ever felt that your fears and insecurities are getting the best of you, know that you're not alone. Every creator who works from the heart faces the same challenges. Come join our community at thecreatorsjourney.com for ideas and inspiration that will bring light and direction to your journey.
Here's the key to my front door. Got a pillow if you lost yours. You got a seat at my table. You got a home. Here's somebody who believes you. Let truth remind you. You've always got a place to go to. You got a home.
My guest today is Maria Piscopo. Maria has one of the most diverse and overarching views of the business of creativity of anyone I know. She is the author of the books Photographer's Guide to Marketing and Self-Promotion and Graphic Designer's and Illustrator's Guide to Marketing and Promotion, as well as a contributing writer to numerous magazines including Communication, Arts, and Shutterbug. She's been a college instructor for 30 years, teaching business practices and marketing to students in graphic design, illustration, photography, animation, and myriad other creative business specialties. Based out of San Francisco, she's taught workshops and seminars and spoken at numerous trade conferences around the country. The most popular topic Maria is called on to present is taking charge of what you charge, which helps creative professionals change the way they talk to clients about money and to keep their fears from overcoming good business sense. In addition, she's also been an artist and photographer's representative for 25 years, not only helping them market their services, but also working closely with her clients to guide their creative journey. If it wouldn't risk running everyone away with my singing, I'd be inclined to break into a chorus of Ave Maria. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you so much, Charles. That was fabulous.
Hopefully the singing doesn't run too many folks away. Or you.
No.
I've admired the influence you've had on the creative professions since I first heard you speak at the PDN Photo Expo in New York nearly 30 years ago. I was in charge of programming for our state chapter of the American Society of Media Photographers at the time. I was smitten with your presentation and immediately thought, how can we get this woman to North Carolina to speak to our chapter? When I saw you at the Meet the Speakers reception that night, I mustered the courage to approach you to see what it would take to get you across the country to share your insights. Do you remember that night?
Oh, yes. It's one of my carved in stone moments as far as fear goes. Yes, I do remember that night, Charles. I tell that story all the time.
Tell the story of how of your side of it, because my side of the story was, here's this amazing Amazing woman, amazing presenter, so many incredible insights for not just photographers, but anybody in the creative business, and was just delighted that you were eventually able to be lured across the country to share those. What was your take on the night?
Well, my take on the night was I was just there to do my 2-hour presentation and go home. I'm a rep. I had nothing to do with public speaking, or I'd written the first book, the first edition of the Photographer's Guide, and that got me the gig with the PDN Expo. But I'm pretty much figuring, go do my thing, from New York, I could see family and go home. I had no expectations of going any further or any sidetrack. And it was at that speaker meet and greet, which was pretty painful. Didn't know anyone. I did not know anyone there. And I didn't know you at the time, but when you, a very, very tall person, and I'm short, so there you go, approached me, and I realized you were actually going to speak to me. I know that you said, because I have a very clear memory of parts of it, you said something along the lines of, loved your presentation, what would you charge to come to our chapter to do a full day? And my very first thunderstruck thought was, oh, wow, that's what it feels like when you're asked, what do you charge? Up to that point, as a rep, I've never experienced that. As a rep, there's no fear. As a rep, it's give me lots of money for Stan or Darlene. I rep them, give the money to me. It's not for me. But I'd always heard that. I'd always heard the fear and the discussion of pricing. I never experienced it. So, Charles, you were my first experience with the fear, and it was terrifying. It was absolutely thunderstruck, out of my mind, terrifying. But I'll tell you what, I became, from that moment on, quite empathetic to my teaching of this topic, because I felt the pain.
I've heard a long time ago that empathy is one of the great fruits of pain.
Yes, oh boy, I absolutely agree with that. And I didn't know. I had no idea. No one had ever asked me that until you asked me that day. And I tell that story to all of my students every semester in all of my workshops, because I want people to understand I'm not speaking as a rep here today. You have to ask me to put my rep hat on if you want. I'm speaking to you as a fellow creative professional, and this scares me. The first time was terrified and panicked, and it was, to this day, chilling.
But you did an amazing job and made such a great impression.
Well, that's the funny part, because that's, I think, what the value of fear is. And as a quick sidebar here, I just finished in my Business Trends column, the February issue, an amazing interview. The first time I ever interviewed photographers that photograph disasters. I've always done commercial, advertising, wedding, portrait, travel, you name it. And I decided I really needed to take this topic on, and I got the go-ahead from the magazine. And every single one of those photographers reminded me of every firefighter I know. They run into the burning building. But all of them said the same thing. The fear is important. If they had a partner or someone with them that wasn't afraid, they would be worried. And the fear gives kind of a chemical boost, even in my brain anyway, to push me beyond my own comfort level, which is pretty close. I keep my comfort pretty close. So when I learned that way back with your first example of it, torturing me like that,
thank you,
in the kindest possible way, what I learned from that what I learned from that is fear is good. And I need fear to move forward. And from that moment on, Charles, everything about my career was about seeking something that scared the heck out of me.
And one of the things I learned out of it, and even as you tell the story again, is that from my perception, there was absolutely no fear there at all. You were just very confident. You handled it with such cool grace. And the lesson to me is that we can have fear, but other people don't necessarily see it.
Oh, absolutely. And I teach that lesson. I embrace that lesson that night 30 years ago and teach it and practice it to this day. What I tell my students and myself on a daily basis is that clients, because that's what we're really talking about here, clients can't tell your feelings. Behavior is everything. Your actions and behavior are everything. So I tell my students, I don't really care how you feel. You can feel afraid, you can feel doubt, you can feel no confidence. I'll take a survey of the room and they'll say doubt, confidence. I have no confidence, I have doubt, I have fear. I said, doesn't matter. All you have to do is act like you don't. And here's the trick of it. This is the absolute beautiful part. I learned this actually 35 years ago when I was with women in management, that it's backwards in the sense that people wait for the fear to go away to act courageous and brave and confident and professional. It's exactly the opposite, Charles. You act brave and confident and professional, and eventually you'll feel that way. In other words, feelings follow behavior. Is that the coolest thing?
A lesson hard to remember in the moment, but yes.
Oh yeah, it takes some practice. It takes some practice.
You just mentioned the women's management. If I remember, a lot of your early business acumen was developed as part of that group or the women's networking group, and you quickly took a leadership role in that. Talk about that a little bit and how it affected you and grew you into your leadership.
Sure, it was very influential early on. I was still in the corporate world, not starting my own business yet, and I wanted to get into management, and it was at a time when, well, I was literally told we don't have women in management, which was, hello. Anyway, so...
Good.
Yeah, really. Dr. Helen Diamond, God bless her, she had started a class at the University of California, Irvine called Women in Management, and took the class to the next level and started a nonprofit organization, a professional organization for the mission of promoting whatever skill set it was going to take, and not only skill set, but of course, as I just mentioned, skills first, and then behavior, and then feelings follow. But whatever it took to help women get into management. And I went to my first meeting, joined on the spot, which I'm a very, very big fan and proponent of professional organizations, your ASMP, any PPA, anything that gets people connected. So I got connected with women that were all seeking the same thing as I was, and that actually led to my first public speaking. That was 5 years before the PDN where you met me, which is a whole other thing, because I had joined with the provision that I will do anything. I will wash windows, but I will not speak in public. I will do anything for this organization.
Be careful what
so
be careful what you say.
You know what happened. Yeah. So it worked. They had to drag me out of the ladies' restroom to stand me in front of the microphone that first time. But knowing that, what Dr. Diamond was teaching was do it, and then you'll feel it later. Do it, and then you'll feel it later, hopefully. But it's not about the feelings. You can't lead with your feelings. Whether you're a woman in management, whether you're a woman in business, whether you're a creative professional, you have to lead with behavior. People can only